Hey, Cam followers and the lovely, fabulous Finn followers. We have beat technology tonight. Hey, Finn. We are going out live on 2 pages. I tell you what, it was all getting a bit sweaty. But we're here, and I am so excited to talk to the lovely Dave and Finn. You know, this is almost like our Christmas bonanza, so please enjoy. Please introduce yourself, Dave, and then I'll introduce myself on your page because we're going out on both.
Yeah, we are. So my name's Dave Wardell. The most important bit of the partnership is this guy here who's snoozing. He's had a lovely day looking for scent. So this is my retired police dog, Finn. Some people know him as Fabulous Finn from, I got to do this plug, from his best-selling book, Fabulous Finn. And from his appearance on Britain's Got Talent last year when we reached the finals. This guy saved my life. I wouldn't be talking to you if it wasn't for him, and hopefully he's going to go on to create an incredibly positive legacy for police dogs and animals more generally. So that's us.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, that's kind of, I should just go back down here now. My name's Hannah, and I run a online advisory group for owners of arthritic dogs. But like you, that's not where my horizon stops. Really want to start influencing people that have got younger dogs, because it's actually a disease of the younger dog, but we'll come back to that later, so that you can put in place the changes that are needed at an earlier part of their life. Because what a lot of people don't realize is one of the leading, if not the leading, cause of elective euthanasia. That's true. What I just said is the biggest reason that we put dogs to sleep. And when you know that there's so much that we can do to prevent that or hinder it or postpone it, I really want you to listen in, because it's really important. So tonight we actually were chatting about what to talk about. We're like, oh my God, we've got too much to talk about.
Yeah, we have.
Contain ourselves. So we might have to do a part 2. But I think what we should start at is, let's go back to the beginning. Okay, so you were telling me that you were a dog trainer before you joined the police force, and then you've gone into being a dog handler in the police force, and then that fateful attack happened. So can you just talk through what happened?
Yeah, so I mean, being a police dog handler had been my dream. That's what I'd wanted to do since I was about 12 years old. I'd been brought up with German Shepherds all my life. 12 years old, I went to an open day at a police station, saw a police dog handler and his dog, and they were working together in harmony, and he barely said a word to his dog, and his dog just knew, and he knew what his dog was doing, and it was just blew me away. It was incredible to see you could have that relationship with a dog. And so when I eventually got round to doing it with the support of my amazing wife, we had an incredible career together. I was so lucky. Finn was my first dog, and he was amazing. Yeah, my first police dog, and he was incredible. The results that he could get, you could turn up at the most grisliest of accidents or the nastiest of burglaries, and there's no big neon sign saying burglar has run that way. It's all down to his incredible nose. And you'd get him out.
So what are the skill bases that he has? So let's just run through all of the competencies that he is equipped with.
So basically, if you put it down to the crux of it, Finn is and his like are about people and things that people have touched. So it could be someone who's missing, someone who's got dementia and has wandered off. It could be a burglar that's run out of your back door and over your back fence across the fields and off. It could be somebody's hidden something and they don't want us to find it. It could be someone's being really violent and we need the dogs to help us to gain the upper hand. They help with public order, so big disorders, big violent disorders, that sort of thing. So it's anything that involves people. And a lot of it involves their nose, because as you know, they have an absolutely incredible
nose. So he's not spookable then. So you could be in a football crowd.
He's actually quite a dinky donkey. He's only about 32 kilos, but he doesn't realize that. He thinks he's this big, brave.
Finn the dinky donkey isn't the same as Fabulous Finn. We're going to change it and rebrand you, Finn the dinky donkey.
Bless him. At home, he is. He's a sweetheart. He is a dinky donkey. But getting get him at a football match, and he's ready to take on, you know, hundreds of violent fans if he needs to.
And what age did you start working with him? So did he come pre-trained and you took over, or did you?
So
all the way through?
So he was born in the West Midlands Police Puppy Program. He was one of 11. He went to my force bought him. He went to a fosterer, who an incredible family that we stay in contact with. They live on a small holding. So Finn was brought up around chickens, ducks, pigs, cows, horses. So again, on that front, nothing fazed him. And then I met him when he was about 9 months old, which is still quite young. We got the 2 or 3 months together before we went on our course. And then we went to a course at a regional school in Surrey, a 13-week course where they learn most of their stuff, but then you carry on learning throughout their lives. You carry on learning together and developing together.
And would you only be bonded with one? Would you ever be a dog handler with 2 or 3, or is it a one-on-one thing?
So the dog only has one handler, but the handler can have a couple of dogs. So I've got a spaniel as well who does different sort of sniffer work. But the dog in this country, anyway, in the police force, the dogs stay with their family at home, so they only have one handler. In the military, it's slightly different. Yeah.
So he always comes home with you?
Yeah, he's retired now. But my current police dogs, they come home with us every night. They're not in the house. If they were, oh my God, it would be bedlam. They would literally be climbing the walls. They don't really have an off switch, bless them. The shepherd would be throwing balls at me saying, come on, come play.
Okay. So you've got 2. So who's the shepherd and who's the spaniel?
So at the moment, my police dogs are Hero Diesel and Pearl. I nearly forgot her name then. Pearl's the spaniel. Pearl the Springer.
Pearl the Springer. That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah. And as you say, it's quite nice because I never knew whether they had to stay at work. I know that sounds daft, but I didn't know whether there was, right now you go to your apartment and I go home and I'll see you in the morning.
Yeah, no, that would be horrible.
It would be horrible. But did they have almost like a cut-off switch when they go, all right, this is the house. We're in the front door. Downtime. Sort
of, yeah. Pearl doesn't really have an off switch. If she was here now, she would be sat there and I would be trying to look round her to see you, and she'd be like, no, you have to love me and no one else. So they do have an off switch, but they're still quite hyper. So hence why they have lovely cozy kennels out in the garden.
Nice. I like it. Okay, so the attack.
Yes, that's where we were going. Sorry.
Yeah.
Too much to talk about. So we'd had an amazing career. He'd had hundreds of criminals. He'd fought baddies, bank robbers and all sorts. And because of the fearsome reputation they come with, and quite rightly so, because they are fearsome, everybody had given up. We'd got into a few fights and Finn had had a few justified bites in his time, but everyone had given up. And I don't know whether I became complacent or what. I don't think I did. But we were chasing this guy on foot through the streets. We thought he'd committed a robbery. And he'd just broken out of a house, so we weren't sure what had gone on there. And when we caught up with him, Finn took hold of his leg because he tried to jump over a fence. And I thought, that's it. We'll be going back to the police station for tea and medals shortly. You're under arrest. And with that, everything changed. He thrust towards, so he's laying on the floor. He thrust towards Finn. And it wasn't until he started to relax his thrust, I could see the biggest knife I've ever seen on the street. And it was coming out of Finn's chest. And when you see something, you think, no. Luckily for me, Finn didn't think no.
Oh my God, that makes me really sad.
No. His dog masters the body language, and he could see what was about to happen, because no sooner had he pulled it out of Finn's chest, and I was standing over Finn, he then went to stab me, and Finn said, you're not doing that to my dad. And he put himself in the way. So at that point, he'd been stabbed through the lung. And he still put himself in the way of the next thrust, which if he hadn't done, I wouldn't be talking to you today. So he's very, very special to me.
Yeah. Do you know, I would, oh God, if someone did that to my dog, oh my God. The purple rage would come out.
But so many people say to me, oh my God, didn't you just go mad and just go crazy on the guy? And well, for a start, we had to disarm him because he'd made his intentions very clear. And once we'd disarmed him, backup had arrived, and I didn't care about him then because I had to worry about Finn. I'd seen where that knife had come from. I've watched a young lad bleed to death, having been stabbed through the heart. It doesn't take very long. So I'm thinking I might have 2 minutes with my best mate. So what do? So I look to see where the wound is. It confirms my fears that it's a chest wound. And I'm thinking, crikey, what do? It's a really long story. To cut it short, we whizzed to the vets, amazing vets.
Which vets was it? Come on, shout them out.
They are the Roebuck vets in Stevenage.
Whoop, whoop. Roebuck Stevenage.
They put him on all sorts of machines. They could see that his blood pressure was stabilizing, so he didn't have an artery or heart damage, but his oxygen levels were plummeting and he was becoming really barrel shaped. So obviously air was getting into his chest where it shouldn't be, and that was making his lungs not be able to work. And so we then set about trying to seal the wound and draw the air out, and it was just a huge failure.
Did it stay?
Yeah.
There's sometimes when you've had pandemonium, and as a vet, you've got like an RTA come in, and it doesn't happen so much now, but I can remember earlier in my career, I used to be like, oh my God, I just haven't got time to get the owner out of the building and, join in.
Yeah.
We're all doing this together.
There's no way I could have gone and sat in a waiting room. He knows me, he trusts me. I helped keep him calm. I had my hand over the wound, the knife wound, to try and stop air getting in with, cling film wrapped around my hand to try and make as good a seal as I could. But we were losing him. We couldn't keep up. We couldn't draw out as much air as it was being drawn in. And then you've got that horrible sucking noise where it's trying to get round the cling film. So we had to rush him to another vet on blue light. That was the Davies Davies,
yeah. The lovely Louise Clark and Diane Messam, can't forget them. They're lovely.
Yeah, they are wonderful. So we shot over to there, and they had a machine that could keep up. And obviously that machine can also measure the amount of air that's coming out, so they can figure out how bad is the injury and all that sort of stuff. And I'm not going to go into too much detail, Hannah, here, because I will have you in tears. And it was at that point that the vet said to me, because I'd been stabbed in the hand and I was refusing to go to the hospital, and the vet and the sergeant had a chat, and they said, well, we need to get him away. What can you do? And he said, well, I'm not going to let him come in. So he said, now I'm going to give you the opportunity to go and say goodbye to Finn, because that's how serious that his injuries potentially were. So I went into the operating theatre and cried into Finn's fur, and they literally dragged me away. It was horrible.
Was it Turner and Hooch? Which one is it where you think the dog... Is it Turner?
Yeah, Canine, isn't it? With the German Shepherd, yeah. With
crikey.
I know. It was exactly like that as well. Except obviously in Canine, he looks up and goes, ah. So he took me off to the hospital. I had my injuries documented. I wanted to get back to him. He eventually had 4 hours of surgery to sew him all back up again. And that's where the next part of the journey really starts, when we're looking to try and change the law for these animals, because they weren't protected under law.
No, it's so weird when you read it and you say damage to property, and you're like, whoa, that's an insult. Yeah, absolutely. So what happened then? So you said within 2 days it went nuts.
Yeah. So it was bizarre. We were sat in the Davies waiting room, and they've got 6 TVs all playing Sky News, and he kept popping up on the TV. So it made national headlines straight away. And I think that's the strength of feeling that the people in this country, they love their service animals. They love, guide dogs. They love the military dogs. They love the police dogs. They love the police horses. And when you see one of them get injured, whether you know the dog or not, it's heartbreaking. And when you learn that they're after a baddie as well, it's, so a friend of mine started a petition because our guy had been remanded in custody and then eventually charged with criminal damage as if Finn was an inanimate object.
A vase.
Yeah, I know. So,
a bit weird when you put it like that, isn't it? Yeah, it's a vase.
Yeah, exactly. It's like smashing a car window, and that's what we used. And my friends were, jumped on social media and they were asking it. And by that point, we had some horrific pictures of Finn. Is this injury the same as smashing this window? And clearly most people thought, no, that's utterly ridiculous. So the petition It was a government petition, and if you hit 100,000, then the government have to, providing it's something they can influence, they have to do a debate for you. And so it hit 100,000 signatures in 11 days, which was just bonkers. I know. And then a few weeks later, we had a debate in Parliament. And so the parliamentary process sort of started. But all the way along, people were saying, it'll never happen. You'll never get it. It'll take 20 years. And it didn't.
18 months.
18 months. 18 months to get a new law for service animals in this country, which is no less than they deserve. You know, I know there will be people out there saying, well, you shouldn't be using dogs for this sort of thing, and you shouldn't be using horses for this sort of thing. And that's not a decision for me to make. We do use them. And if we're going to use them, and I think we should, because they're incredible and there's no piece of technology that can do what these dogs do, then we need to look after them. We need to protect. It's our responsibility to protect them.
Totally. And I think that's what was a bit shocking for me when I first kind of chatted to you. You just assume that they would have a pension plan. I know it sounds and that is ridiculous when they were considered VARs at one point, and I'm saying that VARs should have a pension plan, but you just don't think that they would fall by the wayside. Is it wrong to say in that terminology, falling by the wayside?
No. You know, when the police forces there's 48 police forces around the country, they do an incredible job looking after them. You know, no expenses spared.
How many around the country?
48 police forces. 48. And there are about, I need to check the numbers properly and someone might correct me, there are about 1,500 police dogs in the country at the moment. And whilst they're working, you know, they are looked after. They have obviously their annual jabs and all their flea treatments and all that sort of stuff, and their food and their kennels, and they go to lovely kennels if we go away on holiday. And you know, if anything goes wrong, Finn had a cruciate injury when he was 4, and you know, they did the TPLO, which, as you know, is not cheap. And so when they're in service, they're very well looked after, and of course they come home to dog handlers, and dog handlers look after them and fuss them. But the day they retire, that's it. So having given their whole life to looking after society and protecting society, no pension. Some forces give like a one-off payment. Some forces sort of help with discounted food, but that's it. There is nothing. So,
and do most handlers feel the moral obligation to take on their dog, or do they actually go to new homes?
Some go to new homes. I think, I mean, again, I'd probably have to do a survey, but I think it's a high percentage that stay with their handlers. You know, normally you've built up a huge bond with these dogs, and the relationship is amazing. So I'm guessing it'll be in the sort of 70-80%, but some do have RV homes. Could be that the handler doesn't have the space. It could be that one dog hates the other. You know, they're very drivey dogs, and the competition can be high. And so some handlers do feel it necessary to let the dogs be rehomed, and they're normally involved in that. And I must admit, I mean, I could never let Finn go, but he did find it very hard for me to go to work without him. He couldn't understand it. All his life, or all the life he could remember, we'd gone out of that door together, and all of a sudden I was wearing the uniform that means that we're going to work, and he wasn't coming.
You know, that makes me tearful even thinking about that, because you know, they are focused on us. I'm creating a monster. I know I'm creating a monster, because Luna and me do everything together. Everything. We share the bed. You know, we go paddleboarding together. We're on the beach together. We go to the hairdressers together. There's nothing that we don't do together, and it's almost heartbreaking if I do ever have to leave her for a short period of time, which might be an hour to 2 hours. But yeah, the idea of him going, what about me?
I know. Yeah. Well, we got a bay window. He used to sit in the bay window and say, I think you've forgotten someone. And it was hard, and he did go through it. There's no doubt he was a bit depressed for a little while, but I would come home from work and I would take him out, and we would go tracking, and we would keep him going with sort of scent work, and the kids would go and hide for him, and he got reward for that. And of course then we were really busy with the book tour. It's good, wasn't it?
Do it.
We went to Parliament. He's been into Parliament about 20 or 30 times. He's met MPs, lords, ladies. So he kind of took on this new role, and I think he saw that as kind of like his new job. So I think if a dog has got a job, and then you take that away from them, well, they've got no reason to carry on, no reason to stay fit and strong. So it was important for me.
Luna is a princess, and she will always be a princess, and she'll find it really hard not to be a princess.
Absolutely.
But now tell us about Britain's Got Talent. This was a sly move, and we were just saying that I think I'm without shame to the same degree as you, that I would do anything to get Cam publicised. And someone said to me the other day, "Would you go on Dragon's Den with the worst business plan ever?"
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
100%. And you kind of like had the same thought, really. Right, I'm going to get on stage, didn't you?
Yeah, well, so the campaign sort of went like that. We would have moments where it was brilliant, and we were in the headlines, and the Mirror was saying these animals are amazing and they should be celebrated. And then you would go for 6 months where nothing happened. You couldn't get hold of any MPs. The government didn't want to talk to you, and you're thinking, crikey, what can I do? And we were really struggling through one period, and a friend of mine who is bonkers said, well, why don't you go on Britain's Got Talent? And I was like, what are you talking about? My life, I mean, I am shameless, but my life isn't on stage in front of 10 million people.
You were very good. I saw it. Very professional.
Don't ruin the reputation of Cam. My job is running through people's back gardens at 3 o'clock in the morning. I live a solitary life as a dog handler. We drive around the county on our own. We very rarely see anybody we know. So to be thrust on stage to raise awareness was nuts. But I thought, there might be something in this, you know?
Yeah.
So we contacted Britain's Got Talent. We told them what we were about, what we were going to do, how we were going to try and raise awareness. And they were like, hell yeah. Well, we had to earn our spot, but they were really supportive. And we went on there. I had to learn. So we turned up on a Saturday morning in Manchester. I wasn't a magician. I'm still not a magician. I'd never been on stage before. Finn had never been on stage before. And we had to come up with an act in 24 hours and go on stage and then try and nail it. So we had a magic consultant, and he said, after the whole thing, the three episodes that we did, he said, I've worked with people that have been in magic for 60 years, and because a couple of the tricks went wrong, but no one knew. And he said, I don't know how you did it. Some people that I've worked with for decades would have fallen apart at that point. And he said, you just carried on as if nothing happened.
Yeah, no, you're totally
thing I could put it down to, and I'm sure you can appreciate this from your job in being a vet, is when something's going wrong, you can't go and get someone else to help you. You know, when you're on the street and it's going nuts, when you're in the operating theatre and it's all going wrong, you can't say, I'm going to walk out. Can someone? You've got to just get on with it.
You do have to get on it. Sometimes we go into little small rooms and go, you come back out going, it's okay, I'm okay. Yeah. And I'm really lucky. Throughout my life, I've always worked with really good teams, and if I had to shout out a team immediately, it'd have to be the New Priory crew from down in Brighton. You know, just awesome. You know, working in a small space, having each other's backs, always looking out for each other. Fantastic.
Really important.
Awesome people. But okay, so now we've got another thing to talk about, because it doesn't stop there. We launched Thin Blue Paw.
Oh yeah, Thin Blue Paw. So yeah, we're wearing the same coloured tops, but mine is Thin Blue Paw, and obviously yours is Cam. Look at that. There we go. So
it's a sign of intelligence. This colour. This colour is creativity and intelligence.
Well, I'm not sure about that. I think that was bypassed me, but I'll take that every day. Thank you very much. I love this color. So Thin Blue Paw, whilst we were doing the campaign, every now and then, you know what social media is like, every now and then someone would say, oh well, this is ridiculous getting them a new law. Why don't you spend your time and money on because they all think, because I wrote a book. Did I mention the book? They all think because I wrote a book that I'm a millionaire, which is ridiculous. So I would get grief saying, why don't you spend all your money buying every single dog in the country a stab vest? And oh
my God, I've just twigged. Louise Clark was doing a lot of work about the stab vest with Diane, and I've seen the video clips of them trying out stab vest on Louise's dog.
Who's it?
Seeing whether they can still have the same agility, the same speed.
Where did you see that?
Davies.
Ah, yes. Yes. We spoke to David about that. But again, it's so much behind whether a dog can wear a vest and still be agile, and whether it stores up for stuff in the future. But again, that's hopefully where Thin Blue Paw can help. So I did look into it, and a couple of MPs said to me at the time, if you get them physical protections, there are MPs in this house that won't vote for a new law because they'll say they don't need one. Because getting a new law is a lot of work, and it is a lot of time for government and for Parliament. So we had to be a little bit tactical about it. We had to kind of almost hold off, which I know some people will say that's ridiculous. You can't do that. Physical protection is really important. And of course they are. But we wouldn't have got the new law potentially if we'd have pushed hard for physical protection for them. But then I wanted to do something anyway. I wanted, 48 police forces in the country. There are 14 local charities. So that leaves, my maths isn't going to work.
What sum are we doing? I've missed.
48 minus 14, 34. 34 police forces. Sorry. I haven't had a glass of wine.
I know.
34, soon. 34 police forces in the country whose dogs don't have anything at all when they retire. No help with vet bills. But we want to do more than that. We want to give advice. We want to steal all CAM stuff with CAM written on it still, of course, to help these people.
I'd love to help. I would seriously. I'd be proud to help.
Yeah, these dogs are amazing. They deserve a nice retirement, and if we can try and impart what you're trying to do so that these animals and these owners know what to do for their arthritic dogs, and if we can get in even before that, like you're talking about, to make changes to dog training generally, so that just maybe we stave off those issues for a little bit longer.
Yeah, and to be honest, like it's the same as you. Like I can imagine in your house for the last 4 years, there's always that obsession. It's there. You wake up, you think about it. You go to sleep, you think about it. You're walking the dog, you're thinking about how to solve the problem. Coming up with harebrained ideas, middle of the road ideas, boring ideas, and it's just non-stop, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so I've thought about this a lot. It's not hard. The biggest problem that we have is probably awareness and identification. The rest will snowball after that. So think about puppy parties. You've got the owner desperate for information. You've got the owner saying, I want this to be the happiest, the most comfortable dog. I want them to have the best food, the best vaccines, the best harness, the best bed. I want to do everything the best. That's where you slip in, right? Let's talk about the future. Because if you want the best, we need to be prepared. And that's where we can start to teach them about it being pretty inevitable at some point. There's very few breeds that are not going to be prone to this disease. But we also teach them how to identify it and identify it early. So instead of the vet feeling that they're battling the conversation and that owner hasn't observed, they haven't acknowledged, they're not going to like what I'm going to tell them, this is going to be a difficult consult, they came in for a vaccine, I'm telling them the dog's hips are dusted. Wouldn't it be different if they actually came in saying, right, he's getting a little bit antsy with the other dogs, or he doesn't jump on the sofa like he used to, or I feel he's just slowed down a little bit and I just want to get checked. Whereas at the moment, there's a difficulty. Now, if CAM can achieve that, if CAM can turn this taboo, neglected, inevitable topic and make it almost trendy, functional, something that's integrated early into their life plan, I'd be happy.
Absolutely. I said to you before we went live, I do dog training in the private world as well. When someone comes to me with a behavioral issue, the first thing I look at is how's the dog walking? What's its conformation like? How is it standing? How is it sitting? I had someone the other day and we were doing brilliantly, and then all of a sudden I hadn't seen them for a little while, and then when I next saw them, the dog was sat really funny, and I said, you've got to go and see someone. And they said, oh, she's just starting to get reactive again. And I said, I don't know this is why, but I think you need to go and get that looked at.
Yeah, definitely. And that's that. I haven't got it to hand like your book, so I can't. But there's hopefully one of the ambassadors will put it up. There's a a download that we do. So it's called the Suspicion of Chronic Pain document. So it will be a PDF, and we'll put it on the thing. And it's a simple 1-page A4 piece of paper that allows the dog handler, the trainer, the groomer, the dog walker, whoever, to go, right, in the center is chronic pain. There's behavioral change, 3 spaces, posture change, 3 spaces, and physical change, 3 spaces, capability and gait changes. And they can go, right, that dog has got a postural change, it's sitting strange, it's got a behavioral change. Right, this is all beginning to point into chronic. Got multiple things that are really beginning to spin something underneath this. Take that to the vet's got a fighting chance.
Yeah.
If they go with no information and the dog is like aroused, I'm okay, there's a lot going on, I don't want to sit still, the vet's got no hope of being able to really get to the bottom of it in 10 to 15 minutes. So we're just going to start thinking about it differently, really, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you explain to a dog owner that, your dog, it does look like your dog's got the start of some hip issues or some arthritis. And then when you explain how that can manifest itself into the daily routine. So, you're walking through the park and your dog sees another dog and it pulls into the lead, and that causes pain in the body. So whilst the dog's looking forward at another dog, it experiences pain. That's where your behavioral issues come from. The dog then starts to associate other dogs or other stimulus with pain, and that's where the reactivity comes from. So if you can start to help them with their pain and their problems, then you'll start to see the behavioral stuff move. So yeah,
totally. I had one owner whose dog was getting more and more aggressive towards the postman coming, and so would jump up against the door or the window. But every time they did that activity, we would assume they'd get a sharp pain from the problem area. And instead of them going, oh, I did that to myself, I shouldn't do that again, they think, you did that to me.
Yeah.
And it magnifies it, it just manifests and gets worse. But it's almost like, I know a lot of people are trying to do these A to Z guides of how to bring up a dog, and it's really difficult because there is just so much content out there now, and there's a lot of opinions as well. So we at CAM try and not get caught into opinion bandwagon. We try and stick to core, we try and stick to evidence base, and we try and not get caught up in politics and opinions, and you know what it's like.
Oh yeah. I live in that world too. I know what it's like.
It is hard, isn't it? And I think you have to step beyond it and just, when feeling frustrated, go, it's because everybody's quite passionate about the topic. It's not, in my mind, I don't see it as a greed thing. I don't see it as a money-making thing where people are being opinionated because they want their way. I think people just really are passionate, and it can't help come out.
Yeah. I mean, I work in my professional career. I work with some people who are very passionate about how a dog should be trained, and I must admit, I do my best to try and keep evidence based. And I see the ways that they stick with have no basis in science, and I think, why are you carrying on? Why is there stuff in my manual of guidance that's for 110 years old and we're still using it?
I know.
And there's other ways to train a dog without inflicting pain and all sort of. We could go on about this all night long, but yeah, exactly.
We need alcohol for that.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, and not that little live button at the top either.
No. That's true.
But for me, I've seen the relationship I can get with the current dogs that I've got and with Finn. And we've tried to keep their training as positive as possible, and they're phenomenal dogs. And the biggest thing is they trust me, and I trust them, and we love each other to the moon and back. So I like my dog to have left the training field with a big old waggy tail, saying, "Wasn't that brilliant? Can we not go back and do it again?" Not, "Are you going to hurt me again? Are you going to hurt me again?" I'm confused. I don't know what you want from me, but every time we come out here, you hurt me. I don't get it. And that for me is just bonkers.
No, that's bonkers. And a sad topic. And yes, it's something we should talk about, but we'll do that another time. It's Christmas and happy, because at the moment, I must admit it, I don't feel that Christmassy yet, but your decoration behind your head. Oh, I feel better now. Thank you. I'm in the zone. Good.
I can take no credit for it whatsoever. I've got 3 children who insisted that the Christmas tree went up. We did well keep it till December. I think they wanted to put it up in about October. We've got some beautiful baubles that someone sent us, and this one, if I can get it off, is Finn.
Oh my God! That's
no! How cool is that? I can't
that
remember.
is.
She's on Instagram. She's brilliant.
Oh, I want one.
I'll send you the link. They are lovely.
Yeah. Okay, so let's finish talking about Thin Blue Paw and what the sort of things that you're doing to make this happen, because I know everybody listening is going to go, right, okay, I didn't realise, I didn't know that vases didn't get pensions. I'm on it. So what are you up to? How can we help you?
So Thin Blue Paw is growing and growing and growing all the time. We've got corporate sponsors who are helping us to cover vet bills, but they're also looking to help us with some education. We want to fund research into vests. We don't really want to fund vests yet. We don't think we're going to be big enough to fund vet, although if we could, that would be incredible. So I'd love to see every dog in a vest, but only if they're researched, only if we can show that it doesn't affect the dog's gait and we're not storing something up for future. Or how can we make something that's going to be that? So there's 48 police forces in the country, and every now and then one of them does a little bit of research into vests, but these dogs are still not wearing vests, so this money is going in the bin. So we want
take the emotion out of it. Okay, I'm going to be really politically incorrect. Okay, let's take the emotion out of it. How many are bodily injuries are there compared to degenerative disease? So we just went. We were talking about the study in New Zealand.
The degenerative stuff would far outweigh the physical injury or the injuries caused by another person. But there's always that public pressure. Why don't you have one? But if we as Thin Blue Paw can initiate some research to say this is the reason we don't do it, or we've found 3 products that are as best as you're going to get, and we're helping those companies to research how to make them better, then forces can make up their own mind. But yeah, I think there's got to be education around training as well, so that we're not storing stuff up for future. There is no doubt that these dogs, they do pick up knocks and niggles, and even if we review all our training, they're still going to pick up knocks and niggles. But if we can ease that in their training, then we're going to do our best.
I'm interested. There's a few people saying that there's been PD Stark attacked with a machete 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Where was that?
I was in West Midlands. I know PD Stark's handler, Paul. We're in contact all the time. So yeah, they were searching for someone who'd believed had broken in somewhere, and when they found him, he immediately attacked the police dog. So Stark was bashed around the head with a fairly blunt, thankfully, machete. And it didn't put Stark off. He carried on doing his job.
And then somebody has said over in we've got a guest from New Zealand who just played Finn's Lock in New Zealand, had a police dog shot a couple of weeks ago. Yikes. Nice to see you from New Zealand though.
Yeah.
Jonas. Okay, so we were talking about what sorts of things that we could do to help these old dogs, because degenerative joint disease, musculoskeletal complaints are a biggie in their retirement. And I was talking to you about how there was a study done many moons ago. I think it was David Levine and his crew from the University of Tennessee looking at working dogs in New Zealand. And they were suggesting that the retirement age, they eat for about 8 years, and looking at on a cost benefit kind of ratio. This is how much it costs to train these dogs. This is the expectation we have of them. And many of those dogs were getting 4, 5, 6 years old, and they were unable to work anymore because they were having to scale 6-foot fences and all this sort of thing, and they just weren't keeping up, and they had to retire. So in a very cold-hearted way, it just wasn't cost effective. Yeah. Now, one of the things that they found in this study is that because hip dysplasia was being screened for in the pups that were being bred, that as the source of the problem went down dramatically, but another little beauty popped his ugly head: lumbosacral disease. So lumbosacral disease, a belief one of the strong beliefs, it's an instability at the lower spine where it joins from lumbar spine to the sacral spine, and it's a high movement zone. So it really does take a lot of wear and tear, especially if you're thinking about those extreme movements we're putting on that part of the spine. And it causes what we call cauda equina, which is basically pinching of the terminal part of the spinal cord. It can cause pinching of the nerves as they come out the intervertebral foramina. So you've got a neuropathic pain, which is the pins and needles, the shooting pains, the burning pains, and as well as what we call nociceptive inflammatory pain, which is the arthritis, kind of throbby, continuous pain. Now, it's close to my heart because that's what Holly had. She had terrible lumbosacral disease, steepest learning curve for me. Yeah. She was just so agile. She just, it felt like it came on suddenly. But then when you really grill down, you realize you've got a high drive dog who loves her life, and she won't let it deter her until it gets to maximum point. And there's a brilliant vet. I'm going to shout her name out. Dr. Chris Sink over from America, and she lectures and always says that dogs don't show pain until they're 6 out of 10 pain. So it's nothing, nothing, nothing. 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 pain, you start to get a hint there's a problem. And that's really what I experienced well with Holly. So anyway, it's close to my heart. Back to the military and working dogs in New Zealand. So it's a big problem, and we can only but extrapolate the same as over here, isn't it? So what can we do about it? Because we can't stop them in their job. That's their job.
What do we do?
Is there's physios. I think for me, knowing what I know now, like I check Luna pretty much every week. You know, I'm doing different stretches, different tests. I'm palpating. I'm looking for clues, and that could be taught.
Yeah, I agree. I think there is a huge thing for working dogs, and when I say working dogs, I also include, you know, the dogs that are out there on their agility competition and the agility training, because you know that's it's a huge impact on their body. Amazing fun, especially if you've got a high drive dog. But is there some simple physio that not only gives the dog physio but also allows you to examine the dog every week that we could simply teach these people? You know, since I've had Finn in retirement and he's been going to physio every week, and he's been going on the water treadmill.
Who's the physio? Shout them out. Come on.
So it's Canine Heroes, who are based at Theravet in Sarat. Whoop, whoop. Absolutely wonderful. So Canine Heroes are the charity, and they pay for Finn's physio. And she's taught me a wonderful array of stuff to do, and some simple massage and manipulation and physio. And we've bought a wobble board so that he can keep the supporting muscles strong, not just his big muscles, but the muscles that support those joints and muscles. And to see the difference in him, he still suffers. He still suffers with arthritis every day, but to see him much more stable and keeping that stability and that core nice and strong is at the moment is what's staving off him being a cripple in front of the fire that can't move.
Well, it's kind of interesting, this the followers, you put the messages in, you know, contribute. I'm doing a rehab diploma, so my love of vetting is
how do you find time?
I don't know. I don't sleep. So I'm doing a rehab diploma, and University of Tennessee, it's the CCRP. I'm really enjoying it. It's a good learning curve. And what I'm finding, you have to do some case studies. And I found this when I was working as a vet and a clinical massage therapist, a garden myotherapist, doing my home service. I'm finding it the same as a vet, and I'm finding it the same as a rehab vet, is that you give owners instructions of exercises to do, and they don't do them. They just don't do them. And it's so frustrating. But then I realized that actually people don't do their own exercises.
Yeah.
It's hard to persuade people it's important. So, because I think about this all the time, ridiculous, crazy lady, it's back to the puppies again. Because at that point you say, right, for your week, 3 to 4 times a week, you want to be doing some exercises that are targeted. So you need to make sure that your dog is able to step on and off the curb, do pretty sits. We want lay to stands. We want give paw. We want high fives. We want you to be walking uphill, downhill, Have a routine, but start early.
Yeah.
For obedience, that's going to get your physical balance. It's going to get your core strength, and it's going to get that owner observing. And that might stop the ball chucking. It might stop the ridiculous games on slippery floors. I cannot stand it. I see it.
No.
And I get really angry.
No.
Ridiculous meme, and it says, the dog
stitches there.
Okay, so there was one that a few months ago, and it was a dog falling down the stairs, and someone had put a ridiculous meme saying, Friday night trying to get to the pub. No, the dog's falling down the stairs. That's not funny.
Yeah.
I think we should start early, and I think we could get it again into the adolescent juvenile period. And I think it can be incorporated into dog care, just all dogs. But with regards to the forces, do you get physio within the forces? Is there a physio nominated for each unit?
No. Well, I mean, I'm speaking for my force and the ones that I know of. No, but again, I think if you could get a physio in to teach basic physio, then you're away, because there's money constraints all the time. They're always looking for, you know, our budget gets squeezed, so they're always looking for ways to save money. So you'd have to have a long-term plan that you've got a physio in so that you could teach people basic physio, but then you sell it to them that ultimately, hopefully in the future, you'll save, because you'll get rid of these little knocks and these little niggles. And you know, the other thing to think of, and this would be a very difficult one to change, you know, Usain Bolt, amazing athlete, but you would never go and knock on his door and say, right, come out, run 100 meters and then go and sit back down again. But with our police dogs, we do. We get them out, we drive them around for a few hours, and we get out of the job and we do lots of physical activity, and then we put them back in the van again, and there is no cool down or warm up. Now, you know, getting a cool down or warm up before chasing the burglar is ridiculous.
Sorry, burglar, can you stay?
Go.
Do a little bit of warm up.
yeah, that's it. Don't run yet. Now you can run. Yeah, but there must be things that we can do because we are storing this stuff up over the course of a shift. Is there a way at the end of the shift to then just let that elastic band go and let
I agree. And I bet you, hopefully this live will go out across the CAM little mini advisory empire. Physio, step forward. You know, if this is something that is going to promote your position in that community, a lot of physios, they work so hard. A lot of them are self-employed, so they are not only sorting out the books, paying for their equipment, having all their assets that they've got to pay back. You know, a laser. So if you wanted to purchase a Class 4 laser, you're looking 20 grand. You know, it's crazy money. But they've got their vehicle, they've got their overheads, they do all their own note writing, their reference lettering, they do all their accountancy, and they're charging 35 to 50 quid for an hour and a half. And you can only fit 4 or 5 in a day before the day's gone. Yeah. So you're not talking big bucks for these people. And a lot of them find it hard to get a leg in the door in their local community. You know, there's difficulties with job sharing, role responsibility, or understanding what they're capable of doing. But physios, you know, if you're listening to this and you think this is a big opportunity for me, I would like to offer my services to my local unit, you know, maybe they could get in touch with you. I don't know if that's something that would appeal to you.
Yeah, definitely. We've got contacts for every force in the country, so we can put you in contact. Normally, the Police and Crime Commissioner offices are the good places to start. They're the ones that hold the purse strings, but of course, you know, they're kind of like mini politicians. So if they see a way for getting a bit of publicity and it's all about animal care, then I think they would probably fall over themselves to say, yeah, we'd love you to come in.
What about us trying to train up the handlers to be able to do the basic rehab examination?
I think we've got to do that. I really do think that's vital. I think going forward, we ask more and more of these dogs And like I say, on a course of a set of shifts, we are really storing this stuff up, and it's difficult to give. Like I said, it's difficult to give them a warm up before you chase a burglar. But if there's just some way you can just let go of that tension at the end of the shift or on their rest days, then I think we've got to. And ultimately, in the long run, we'll save the taxpayer lots of money because they won't pick up all these knocks and niggles, and these dogs will have a fantastic longer retirement, hopefully.
No, I totally agree, and that's what it's about. In that, Cam definitely started because I couldn't watch it anymore. I could not be party to turning a blind eye to the fact that the dogs that were coming in to be put to sleep didn't need to be. They're being caught earlier. Don't get me wrong, by the time that they came to see us and they were like, he's off his back legs, it was actually the kindest thing to do is say, yes, let's let go. Because the damage was too far gone. There was no muscle mass. They've got serious neuromuscular deficits. The joints just didn't move. The pain was unbearable. But that doesn't mean to say that dog 6 months, a year, 2 years, 4 years before, if we had caught it, we would have had a different outcome. And I 100% believe in that. So Cam started for the older dog, the great muzzles. But over time, it's actually been the Cam followers that have really driven the change, because the people that became loyalists to us and real solid followers were the people with the young dogs, because they were like, your advice is really helping me. He's only 18 months. This. So because we concentrate on a lot of lifestyle advice, exercise advice, the common sense sort of stuff, they were like, I'm getting so much out of this. Thank you. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And it does actually fit massively with the data. And a really big advocate for streaming this is Duncan Lascelles, who he will always start his lecture saying, you do realize this is the disease of the younger dog. It's not human arthritis, which is spontaneous, which is a more wear and tear, comes with older age. This is a disease that's due to developmental joint disease. So that starts young, 6 months, year, 18 months. Those flips of lameness, that lameness that they have 3 times one summer, and you keep thinking they're pulling a muscle. No, there's something there. That difficulty training, that behavioral, mischievous, just, oh, I wish he could do that, or why does he keep doing that, or why does he seem to be, averse to that dog over? They're key times for us to go, there's something there. But I think at this point, I need to really address another problem, because I'm obsessed. That people panic. They panic. So let's say I've got a 2-year-old border collie, Luna, and say that I've just had significant hip arthritis diagnosed, and we've started to get some adapted posture. We're putting some strain through the stifles because she's not using her hips correctly. She's tucking up her spine, so we're creating some iliopsoas discomfort, and the back end's really beginning to get a little bit. And as an owner, I'm thinking, oh my God, this is for life. Oh my God, this is for life. And I'm thinking, how am I manage this? How can I pay for this? What about our dreams? What were we going to do? And they need to be addressed, because it's not game over at all. No. What people need to understand is lifestyles can be adapted and they can still be really good fun. Adapted lifestyles lead to less pain, which means less pain medication, which means less expense. And dreams are still possible. And I find it really frustrating that there's this problem of early identification. And I think these things are a really big hindrance, and we need to talk about it, so people don't realize that a diagnosis doesn't mean game over. It actually means just change direction.
Yeah. And some of the things you spoke about a little while ago, I still see it. You go to the park. In fact, we were training at the park, a client at the park today, and someone walked in and they literally stood in the corner of the field and threw the ball 15 times and then went home. Whereas we spent half the amount of time engaging the dog we were with in the park, but we were doing little tricks and little games, and we were getting the dog to use this and this. And I can guarantee you the dog we were working on left the field 10 times more tired and in need of a snooze and a rest than the dog that You know,
Yeah. And I
my
think,
shepherd, my working shepherd, you could throw a ball for her all day long, and all you'll do is store up injuries for when she gets older. You won't wear her out, but if you
no,
get her to go and search for this, that, and the other, she'll be
yeah,
like, "I'm done. I'm tired. I need a snooze."
yeah, I totally agree. And whether this is slightly antagonistic, what am I going to say? I did it before, and I'm confident in what I'm going to say. When you see dogs with these high drive games, and don't get me wrong, I'm not anti people using ball for ball sports, because a lot of these fly balls and agilities, people are getting a lot wiser, and they are doing warm-ups and warm downs, and they are putting a cap on it, and they are getting physio checks and stuff. So anybody that's going to immediately lynch me for saying balls are bad, not all across the board. It's just the fact that they're so readily available to somebody that doesn't know the damage that they can be done. But when you see some of these dogs that are so wired, they're coming back going, just give me the ball. Happiness. That's not a content face. That's and I would say to myself, is that dog truly happy?
Yeah.
Really making that dog and complete life? Or as you say, scent work, interaction, engagement, getting your eye. Am I doing it right? Great, I am. Fantastic. What else are we going to do? To me, it's facial expressions and body postures of contentment. And that's what I want my dog, is to be content.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think everyone's got a part to play in it, from the breeder to the vet to the behaviorist to the dog trainer to the agility club to the, we've all got out to the vet. We've all got our part to play. And if we can slowly I know you want it quicker, but slowly change, maybe the picture will look much different don't shoot me down for saying this, but in 20 years time, maybe everything will just look very different. I hope so, because these dogs are incredible. I owe my life to at least one dog sat over there on the carpet, probably many more, because they were there for me through a pretty tricky childhood when humans weren't much use to me. And if I give anything back to make sure that they have a better life, then I will. And I know that you're the same. So I really hope a Thin Blue Paw and Cam outside, yes, it's all mirrored, isn't it? And can work together to try and help and bring some education to owners and handlers.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think we should try and pursue that. And I think, both of us are at a point in what we do where we want people to step forward and help. We want people to open doors. And, you vicarious listeners, there might be somebody in there that goes, that's touched a nerve. I can help. So my need at the moment is digital marketeers. Help me. I have no idea what I'm doing. So anybody that has got a talent, I don't know if you're the same. You're saying that, your Facebook is hard work.
It is hard work, yeah.
And it's
there will
also
be people out there wanting to help. And hopefully, if you've struck a chord, if you've struck a chord with one of the listeners going, but that was my dog, that was my dog, my last dog, my previous dog, and they've got one of those skills, I'd love for them to step forward and ask if they can help Hannah. So if anybody can help Hannah and Cam.
We had, I've got to tell you about the book that's going to be coming out probably middle spring next year. It's going great guns. So I know that throughout my career, I've put a number of dogs to sleep that shouldn't have been, because the relationship within the family changed. So the dog might have bitten a child, might have reacted badly, become unpredictable, and the whole family has gone, well, we can't trust them anymore. So and they're too old to rehome, so we better say goodbye. Or the dog ends up having to stay in a different part of the house and doesn't get to be a family member anymore. That's as bad in many ways. So anyway, me and one of the CAM team, a lovely vet called Rebecca Barr, and she was working with the SPCA, the Scottish Protection of Animals, and she'd found the same. Numerous dogs were coming in to be rehomed because of incidents which weren't their fault, and the families didn't know that actually there was an underlying pain component. So the dog's tolerance, mood, coping strategies had changed. And they changed to only a way that they knew to get what they needed, which was, I want you to leave me alone because I don't want you to touch me. I'm sorry, it's sore. Or I don't know what you're going to do. You could hurt me. So do that. oh, you've left me alone. Well, that works. I'm going to try that again. And that can upscale quite quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Or it can just jump straight into, just don't do that to me.
Mm-hmm.
So we've written a book. And talking about people step forward, an amazing guy called Phil Ivins, I have to scream his name. He did the Holly's Army logo. So anybody that's seen it, it's Holly, bandana, pink background, it's beautiful. Holly's Army needs you. And I asked him if he'd illustrate a book for me. He said yes. So he's been beavering behind the scenes. I wrote the book. I've had help from a number of people, Rebecca Barr, a lovely guy called Quintin. The booklet has now gone to multiple behaviourists. So Carrie Westgate, Professor Daniel Mills, Sarah Heath, Rebecca Barr. It's gone through all Sarah Heath at Behavioural Referrals team. They've all gone, it's okay. So that should be our big announcement next year. So that's going to be good.
Awesome. Well, let us know, because we'll definitely help you push it. You know, and I think there's definitely something around education and how young that education starts, I think, is vital as well. If we can change the whole mindset of the young gen. My daughter is a mad dog. She loves dog training, and we're trying to teach her that what she's doing now will affect the dogs for the rest of their lives. So get them young. Get them young. Yeah. So I think it's a really good point to kind of end, but we haven't done our 10 top tips. Oh gosh. No. You're going to ask me for some top tips? Yes. So the idea of 10 top tips is for any follower of any background, of any financial and ideally physical capabilities, because CAM is inclusive. You know, we want to help everybody. And what you need to realize is the foundational, the core interventions, which there's a lot of evidence to say, yes, this works, are free. So I'm going to start number 10, weight control. Yeah. So fat is an inflammatory source. It will make arthritic pain worse. It will make the mechanical loads on the joint greater. And there's work showing that extra weight carriage asks the joint to do a lot more and push them out of their comfort zone. So weight is a bad one. Number 9. For me, I spend a lot of time on your Facebook. I try and watch as many of your lives as I can, which is really sad. You're going to think I'm a stalker now. Your website is absolutely incredible. The people that you work with are absolutely amazing. So for me, it's really simple. I would have your website bookmarked and I would follow your account, because you just said it. The information is there and it's free. And these guys have got a passion for it. It's mirrored. These guys, no, that way. These guys have got a passion for it, and they really want to help you. So jump on there, because all the information, and it's fascinating. You'll be like, oh my God, yes, my dog does that. Now, how can I help it? And they will show you how to help it. Yeah, which it takes me back. There's lots of out there for stuff. There's lots of people out there trying to make money, and you cut through all of that and say, well, evidence says no, evidence says yes. So yeah, just follow these guys. Wrong way. These guys. She's still doing it. Number 8, I went back to my core today. So I was doing a house visit and looking after someone's dog, and I did what I did right at the beginning, where I actually photoed around their house, and I was looking at it as a point of view of a dog. And there was a step about that deep, that the dog obviously struggled, a little bit of whiplash every time he tried to get down it, and hobbled and catch his toes. And to the owner, it was innocuous. It was a step that big. They had a nice piece of shiny wood on top because it had been so tread upon, an old oak beam. And there was a solid floor, which was slightly slippery, that they landed onto. And, when you think about it, actually, that's like me jumping down from my thigh level onto a slippery floor when I've got problems knowing where my legs are, how strong will they be, can they cope? Look at your house with fresh eyes. I seriously will stick my neck out. I think it's as powerful as a non-steroidal. I think it is as powerful as anti-inflammatory, but putting these lifestyle changes in place, because we don't think about how we live. They're not designed for dogs. So steps, baby gates, think about it. I'm jumping in and out of the boot of the car, over the course of 10 years, and you take your dog for a walk twice a day, jumping out the car twice a day and and then making them sit at the back of the car to jump from a sitting still up into the boot. All of that adds up. You just think about that slightly differently and you'll make a huge set. I mean, I was guilty of it as a police dog handler. Our dogs jumped out of the van 20 times in a night, and then you would bring them back to the back of the car and put them in the sit and make them jump from a standing sit into the back of the van. I don't do that now. I don't do that. No, it's storing stuff up.
It is. Is that your number 7? Or are you going to give me another number?
Number 7, get your dog into scent games. I came under a little bit of stick recently because I took Finn on a scent course. He loves using his brain. He loves using his nose. He can't run at 30 miles an hour anymore, but he wants a job. So we got him into scent games, and they're really easy to do. There's a ton. Maybe you and I can sit and write a program and get that out for free to our listeners and your listeners. But it's really easy to do. There's lots of information out there how you can quickly get your dog searching for catnip, and you can make the search to their physical abilities. So it doesn't have to be up the mountain and down the other side. It can be just around the house, just to get your dog up and moving and try and keep that core strength going, and all the while using this, and they'll happily go, oh, I'm knackered.
Yeah, I love it. And that's exactly the same as number 6 for me. So at lady's house, she actually left me alone to do my thing. So I immediately went into a recycling bin and pulled out a load of plastic, like washed out soup pots and mange tout tray, smeared it with peanut butter, and that kept the lovely dog busy whilst I was doing some massage and some manipulation and bits and bobs. And it was just, the dog went from being, oh, I'm not really sure, to, oh, this is quite nice, I'm quite enjoying this. Lots of good movement, lots of good posture. You've got things that are free in your house. You don't have to spend large amounts of money. Okay, number 5.
Oh, God. Number 5. Oh, gosh, here we go. I had one and I've lost it. What did I do? What did I think about it? I mean, swimming is fantastic for dogs. Absolutely incredible. Really does keep that core strength. And obviously it's really low impact. So any exercise that you can find that's good for the muscles but low impact. Obviously this time of year it's difficult to go wild swimming because you certainly don't want to be putting an arthritic dog in freezing cold water. But there's nothing to say that you need to wait for the dog to get to 10 years old and start to really struggle before you get them into hydro and stuff like that. So
it's about getting to habit again, isn't it? It's about us having fitness in our life throughout of our life rather than waiting till we need to do it. There's
these wonderful sort of splash pools that pop up at dog agility parks every summer, and they are fantastic. However, don't let your dog go nuts and jump from the edge of the pool and storing up stuff in the back. If you can ease them in and then get them to swim around nicely, your dog will have the best exercise. Get in there with them because you'll build an incredible bond. Finn and I have gone swimming in some crazy places together, and he loves it. He loves nothing more, and it's literally like hill work in the pool. He's right next to me. He's happy as Larry, and it's the best exercise.
I love that. Talking about swimming, I've committed myself to something stupid. So guys, the lovely Laura Eldridge, who has so far raised £4,000, is doing her final sea swim this Saturday in Felixstowe, and I'm going to go and join her to say, well done, chick, I'm here. I know, and it's bikini type.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah. So we're hopefully going to do that on Saturday, and I just really want to showcase what Laura's done. She's absolutely a stunner. Or for me, it's a real simple one. We tend to put loads of blankies and fleecies and knitwear and crochet and toys in their bed because it looks nice. No, do it, because I see it all the time. These dogs, especially when they're quite debilitated, and when they're starting to have quite a lot of proprioceptive deficits and weakness in their back end, those feet get caught up in these pieces of material. So when they go from having a sleep and they try and stand up and everything's stiff anyway and nothing's woken up and the foot's trapped, you're twisting this soft tissue. You're making them, they're going to fail. They're going to trip. They're going to fall on their face. They're going to take and land in a poor posture. They're going to create harm. Less is more. Less is more. Think about it. And if people really are worried about their dogs getting cold, this is just how I managed it. I'm not saying it's the only way. I invested in a back on track coat for my dog. There are alternatives. And it was a insulated kind of mesh coat, which fit her quite well. So she could get up without her feet ever being trapped in anything. So do think about all these fleecy stuff that I see. Number 3.
What was it? Oh, I had another one again. You've made me forget because I'm listening to what you're saying, so I keep forgetting what I'm doing. I was going to say I had a couple. I'm going to have to remember the one. So the one I can remember is get yourself a good animal behaviorist, one that's into these little low impact games. So when you're training a dog, you really got to latch onto their natural desires. And yes, chase is one of them, but you don't have to stand in the corner of a field and throw a ball 20 times. You can get really creative with their games. Hannah's already talked about it. You know, the simple high five, getting that stretch is really important. And it's stuff that you can do literally in front of you. And the dog hasn't gone very far, but they're still absolutely shattered. There's lots of stuff online. There's lots of behaviorists that give information away for free. So, you know, look to diminish that really hardcore exercise and just find mind tricks and mind games.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because most people are very accepting now of socialization groups and puppy classes, and you hard push to find somebody that wasn't exposed to the 4 to 6 week puppy course when you first get it. You need to kind of make the junior and the adult, and for it to be normal that people. It's not a choice. It's, you know, I know it is a choice, but it's just so expected. It's like the UK. Is it the good citizen dog or something? You know, we should just make it just normal so that no one makes it or opts out of it.
Well, absolutely. And just touching on that point about puppy socialization, as you know, Hannah, socialization just a few years ago meant stick a bunch of puppies in a pen and let them beat each other up until they're knackered and then go home. And then we wonder why we have reactive dogs that are also storing up injuries. But socialization these days, puppy socialization means show the puppy the world. And obviously, if they're young and you're not dragging them through town, you might carry them through town and show them. So let them see all this stimulus and show them that it's nothing to be worried or excited or overstimulated about. And then you almost want a dog that's like, meh, there's another dog, meh, there's another person. Mum, Dad, what are you going to ask me to do now? That's what you want. You don't want a dog that thinks, I see a dog. When I was a puppy, that meant bundle. So that's what it means now. Why? I'm on a lead. Why won't you let? And then you have people ring me and say, my dog's really aggressive towards other dogs. No, it isn't. It's just when it was a pup, you taught it to be a lunatic, and it still wants to be a lunatic, and you won't let it because it's on a lead. So socialization means so much more than just letting your dog meet every other dog.
I love that one. I love that one. And that leads into my final one, number 2, is that behavior and training is so linked with canine arthritis management, musculoskeletal disease. And I watched a dog as I was sat in the traffic lights today, and it was a young spaniel, and he was in a harness, and he'd seen a dog on the other side of the road, and he was just going for it, and he was pulling through the harness, and the front legs were here, they weren't even on the ground, and the owner was just kind of giggling to himself, a bit embarrassed. You know how some people, when they're embarrassed, they kind of giggle their way through. And you just really want people to kind of go, don't wait till it's a problem, address it quicker, because it's not just a behavioral problem getting worse, it's going to be a physical problem getting worse. All those stresses and strains that you're putting through that physical being when they're really aroused, they're not going to give a crap what their back legs are doing. They can twist, go everywhere. They're so engaged. So yes, attend to your behavioral problems early, attend to your musculoskeletal problems. They are closely interconnected. Number 1, it's got to be a biggie. It's got to be a biggie.
Well, yes, it is a biggie. And I really hope that we, as part of Thin Blue Paw and Cam, that maybe we can change. You got the wrong side. We can get not only pet owners but people who work dogs to do this as well. So for me, it's about enjoy your dog. Definitely enjoy your dog. So of an evening when you're sat there relaxing, find yourself a physio, find yourself a good physio that's prepared to teach you the basics. So of an evening when you're sat there in front of the fire, when the dog is nice and warm, or you get yourself a nice hot water bottle, not hot water bottle, warm hot water bottle to put on the dog, and just be really relaxed with them and do some of these basic physio things to try and undo some of those knots and some of those things, some of the avoidable things that we just can't help, and just try and help them undo it so that they can. Wouldn't we love it if our dogs could live to 15, 16, 17, 18? I know I would.
I know. And I think I broke my phone recently, so I had to get a new phone, and with all this iCloud stuff, I just tried it. So suddenly all of my iCloud from my iPhone from previous years was in my face, and a load of Holly stuff. You know, I photoed and videoed every day, and it broke my heart because it's tough. It's really tough. You know, the last 2 years of her life, I didn't go to church, I didn't go on holiday. My whole focus was her. And if we can stem that off for as long as possible, I think people don't realize how difficult it is until they're actually there. So please take us seriously. We're your fairy godparents trying to save you the suffering as well as your dog the suffering.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's your website, and what are the two social media? I think it's 2 social media groups, isn't it? What for my listeners?
Yeah, got quite a lot. So we've got Canine Arthritis Management. There is also Canine Arthritis Management Professional. So if you're a vet nurse, a therapist, please head over there. We've got our community group, which is called Holly's Army. And we've also got a Canine Arthritis Equipment Review page, because a lot of people spend a lot of money on stuff that don't work. You won't find stuff about drugs and supplements and foods, because we really want people to focus on lifestyle and management, which is just not being addressed properly. I'm going to do a little bit of a plug. We've got a course out. It's called CAM Advocate Level 1. So you are the advocate for CAM and you're the advocate for your dog. And it's 10 modules. It is extensive. You will cry. I will make you cry.
What, through sweat and tears, or through emotion?
Sweat and tears, but emotion as well. And there's loads of PDFs, there's loads of printouts, JPEGs, there's loads of links to Facebook Lives, further reading. It is solid. So please head over to cameducation.co.uk. Got many more planned.
Guys, yeah, for my listeners, Hannah is an absolute legend. So please jump on there. She's really addictive. This is the first time I've spoken to her. It's like I've known her for years. So do jump on there. I'm just trying to get Finn to come and say goodbye. Finn.
Yes, I'm going to get Luna. 2 seconds. Pop, pop, come here.
Hey, oh, bless. Hang on, here he comes. There he is. Oh, yeah. Where's he gone? There he is. Finn, look this way. He's like, oh, I was in front of the fire, Dad, and you woke me up. Hi, the buddy boy. I love it.
Well, thank you, listeners. It's been an absolute pleasure. I could talk to you for hours. I'll put you down. And until next time.
Yeah.
Everybody who is from the fabulous Finn has a lovely Christmas. You want to over to Cam. I've got 2 really big interviews before Christmas. I am so excited. I have got the god of arthritis, God, Dr. Stephen M. Fox. I'm too excited. I can't even breathe. And then I've got Brian McKenna, the Skept vet. Oh my God. So solid.
Cool. I shall be looking out for those. Thank you very much, Hannah, for today. I really appreciate it. I really hope there's stuff we can do together. I know there is. It's just trying to find time.
I know. Cool. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. Until next time, we'll see you later.
Bye.